Hi everyone, and welcome to the October edition of Beats and the Coffee with the CEO segment. This month I'm going to have a chat with Andrew, Tash and Gary from the Safety Committee, and we're going to talk safety in St John.
The Safety Committee at the moment is looking at quite a few projects in regards to aggression and violence on road. We've done a few articles in Beats on how we can improve the way we do things. Some of the things are Poke the Bear program, where we don't want to antagonise someone's already rolled up. Have you got any recommendations on how we can improve or what we could do on road a bit better?
I think firstly what I'd like to say is it's not just about on road. We have a violence and aggression problem in our GP clinics and urgent care centres. You know, we have difficult people that come to the counters of regional sub-centres, those sorts of things. So whilst there is a focus on road, because those that are on road are on their own, so you know you don't have a system around you, you're sort of out on the side of the road on your own. Violence and aggression itself is an issue for a range of people in our organisation. I think we as an organisation have to adequately investigate all of those instances that occur and put in place whatever fixes we can to address the issues. But there are some issues that you just can't address, because our job is actually to go out there and be in the community. And unfortunately, part of the violence and aggression issue that you're facing is a community problem. So we, and the causal issues for that are more than what we can address. We can be a part of that and part of that greater discussion. But solving that violence and aggression out there in the community, it's bigger than what we are.
Impossible task almost.
Oh, I don't know that it's, wicked problem, I think they call it. But I think what we have to do is we have to maintain vigilance. So one of the things that happens when you're out there doing job after job after job, or maybe sometimes dealing with the same patient that you've dealt with on a number of occasions before, or it's been a long day and you're getting towards the back half of your shift, those sorts of things. Sometimes your attention to detail might drop off. Or you might not necessarily pay as much attention to the triggering things that that occur. I think so. The biggest thing that I can say to our people on the road is you have to remain vigilant, and you have to remain aware of your surroundings. That situational awareness is so important. And I think we need to look at other ways of getting assistance and that tactical withdrawal. There's nothing wrong with running away.
Running away is a good thing.
Nothing wrong with running away. There's nothing says that you have to stand there and tackle it. The D in Dr. ABCD is D stands for danger, and you guys need to look after yourselves first. I also know that that's really hard when you've probably got an injured patient or someone's really, really sick and they need you, and you could have all sorts of things going on around you, but you can't help that sick patient if you're not safe and well yourself. So it's about making that decision. But yeah, situational awareness is probably the most important thing. Always be aware of your surroundings and always pay attention to those little cues, because how often does that aggression manifest itself really quickly? There's those things that are slow build up, but quite often it's that really quickly, where did that come? Everything was fine a minute ago. So it's about maintaining vigilance.
Be in that situational awareness and be ready to leave it. It's probably if it does go bad.
Yeah. And the one thing that I learnt over many, many years, and a number of very violent situations, is you actually also have to know your own capability and know what you're good at. I'm not a really very good fighter, but I'm pretty good at negotiating with people and talking them down. And I think paramedics, our health staff, you know, everyone is, I think, that type of person. So never forget the ability to de-escalate and, you know, talk people down. Negotiations are a far nicer way of getting things done.
So in your experiences and your contacts that you have with other ambulance services and also the WA Police, is there some other areas that you think could cross over into St John Ambulance and can assist us in dealing with the violence and aggression that we're facing?
I think the first thing that we have to recognise is that we're not alone in this, and ambulance officers, paramedics all around the country, all around the world are facing this sort of issue, and as are our other emergency services colleagues, police officers, firemen, you know, they're all facing this sort of issue, and we have to look at how we can actually work together to tackle it. We need to remember what we're there for, and we're there to assist people in their hour of need, whether that be, you know, sickness and illness and that sort of thing. We're actually not there to do the work that you would expect of either the Department of Fire and Emergency Services or of WA Police, but we can actually all work together. I think that's one of the things we have to recognise. The other thing that I would say that I would bring from my experience in policing is probably what I said earlier, is negotiation and de-escalation is probably our greatest weapon, and our ability to communicate is probably our greatest weapon in fighting this. I recognise there's always going to be people that are really unwell, that you can't make any impact on, that, you know, they're having some sort of psychosis or those sorts of things. You actually can't de-escalate the situation, and that's when, yeah, tactical retreat is not a bad thing. But I think we have to try harder with those de-escalation techniques, those let's, you know, calm down and work this out, that sort of thing.
I think there's a lot of people on road emphasising the need for a formal training course on something that's more physical related to de-escalating someone, and I don't think that's the path that we should be going down. I think we need to be focusing on those negotiation techniques, how to de-escalate someone.
And I can understand why there is a push maybe for that open hand combat kind of techniques. But remember, for that to actually be second nature, you've got to practice it pretty regularly. And whilst, you know, there is an issue with violence and aggression out there, I don't think we necessarily have the rate of being able to keep practiced with that. But it also invites a heightened level of aggression with very few other tactical options. It's not actually something that I would be happy to support. I'm happy to look at all submissions, but that's not, I think, our remit. There are other things, you know, body-worn video that's being trialled in a number of ambulance services. I think they might have been using some on the eastern seaboard, but certainly around the world. And that has a number of uses, one of which being capturing any aggression towards paramedics, but it also has some can assist with, you know, training in your clinical work. And certainly my experience in that, in my previous role, and that's being rolled out across the whole of the state here for police officers, is that it does in some ways act as a deterrent. And in other instances, it's very, very good at capturing the evidence so that you actually get perpetrators before the court with the appropriate evidence. But that's, you know, maybe down the track, maybe not. I still think we need to look at, if you wanted to do formal training, then perhaps we need to look at some of those de-escalation techniques. Your greatest ever weapon is always going to be your presence and your voice. And perhaps we can look at doing some extra training with that. And that can, help you in a lot of other circumstances as well.
I totally agree.
Good.
Can I just, a couple of points I've sort of thought of are, is there any possibility of data sharing between us and WA Police? Because obviously we flag patients or addresses, and there's possibility, I guess, WA Police have similar kind of tracking. Is there any way that we could share that? Because obviously there must be places we go that they're aware of that we don't know.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And what I can say, and it's very early days, is that I am in discussions with WA Police at the moment. In fact, I've had some meetings with the senior leadership of WA Police talking about how we can work better together, because there are times that they need us and they need and that we need them. So I don't see why we don't collaborate more. There are obvious privacy concerns and there are legal issues, but certainly I don't think that they're insurmountable, and the leadership over at WA Police doesn't think they're insurmountable either. So I suppose my answer is yes, watch this space.
Okay.
Last question.
Okay.
What kind of advice would you give your on-road staff and volunteers in regards to safety?
My advice is that this is a joint problem. There's the organisation, the community, and you as the individual. We all have a responsibility for safety, and like I've said in previous answers to questions, the most important thing is to maintain vigilance and to maintain situational awareness. And while we're talking about violence and aggression in this conversation, that actually applies to all of those other things, all of those other things that you do on a daily basis that might injure you, whether that's how you lift or move the stretcher, how you step out of the back of the van, all of those things that could injure you. It's about maintaining vigilance, sticking to your training, and being situationally aware of where you are and what's going on around you. The other piece is me reiterating, I have no expectation that you or any of your colleagues are going to place themselves in the line of fire or in danger. And I have absolutely no problem with a tactical withdrawal and waiting for backup to arrive. So please don't think that you have to rush into danger. I get, as we said, there are people that will be ill, that you want to help, but you can't help them if you're hurt. So always remember that. Situational awareness is the most important thing.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Look after number one.
I don't know. How about not just look after number one. Look after number one and number two, and there's and probably it actually is that other great point. Like, look after your mates, and if you see someone probably maybe not paying attention or doing something that might put them in danger, there's nothing wrong with pulling them up, saying, "Hey mate, what are you doing?" So you got to look after yourself, you got to look after your mates, and we as an organisation will do our best to look after you, but we need to do it together. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's been fun. I want to thank Andrew, Tash and Gary for coming and spending time with me and having a discussion about safety in the workplace. But before we finish up, the one thing I want to remind everyone of is that these things need to be reported. We can't solve problems or fix issues or investigate why things happen if you don't report it. So that's my final plea, I think, and it's what I'd like you all to go out and encourage your colleagues to do. If something happens, make sure you report it. Thanks, everyone.